Welcome to The Real Africa, a podcast which looks at film from the perspective of Uganda, where I've been living for about 20 years now. And I'm here with my co-hosts, Joanita, known as...
Heath the Joker,
and Kenneth Matovu.
Yes, known as Kenneth
Matovu. And I'm David Cecil, and I'm passionate about film. We're all passionate about film, and we imagine you are too, because you're watching a film review podcast. So today we're going to look at a movie called Sinners, which is a 2025 movie, and it's nominated for some Oscars, do we think? Yeah? What's it been nominated for?
Best Actor. It had Best Actor for Michael B. Jordan. Then we also have Best Cinematography.
You should have sound, I'm sure. Yeah, score.
Best soundtrack, yeah.
Best Ensemble, there are
Support
quite a
cast,
number.
yeah.
Yes, there are quite a number of nominations.
Okay. And briefly, the story is about two gangster twins, both played by Michael B. Jordan, who return from Chicago, where they've been living a life of crime, and they've got pockets full of ill-gotten cash, and they use that to set up a jive joint, which is the old 1930s term for a club for black people. And it's set in 1930s deep south of America, sometimes called the Delta. And on the opening night of their jive joint, everything is going very well with some great music playing until some friendly white hicks, which are white redneck peasants, turn up and transform themselves into something evil. And I think it's no spoiler to say that this is a vampire film. It's advertised as a horror movie. So what did you think, guys?
Joe?
I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed part of the film. The other part, when the film was setting off for me, I feel it ended. There are 45 minutes spent just trying to create a build-up. And the build-up, there is no rush. There is no, he's just trying to move around and get as many people as he can get to join his club, right? And those are 45 minutes where someone can sleep, where you can forget about the film, where, besides the cinematography, the scenes and everything, if you're because here I represent the audience. If you're someone who just watches a film and you don't care about the color grading, the cinematography, the production values of the film, the 45 minutes of this film, you will walk away. You will walk away. You will not care much for the film. And I feel that for me was a little bit of a letdown. Whoever likes Sinners after 45 minutes.
Wow. Do you agree, Kenneth?
No. I think, first of all, the casting, it's sold as Jordan B. What's the other name?
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan
is playing two roles. And that's a very big thing you hear everywhere, and I think that works. So the thing that gets your attention is, if you're a big fan of Michael B. Jordan, you go to see him playing two people. I think the pacing is right. It's just like a Nigerian film in a church, I think that's a good, I don't know if they did it intentionally, but it would be like a nice homage to Nigeria, I think that was nice. So if you're a fan of Nigerian films, you watch a Hollywood film with black people in church, it sort of feels like a home film, right? So I like that a bit about how it starts. And the language is sharp. I think the lines that the father and the guitar kid, the first line I think we hear is, if you play with the devil, you'll come back with the devil, something like that. But, most of the language is like that. It's not like normal conversation you have with people, but it's very theatrical, very...
Apocalyptic.
Yeah, apocalyptic language. Yeah, exactly. So I enjoyed that a lot. And, if you join that with the cinematography, with the performances as well, for me, it has my attention. I'm not... 45 minutes in, I'm not even looking at the clock. I'm immersed, sort of. Yeah, I know I'm watching a movie, obviously, because it's vampires. It's not realistic. I always judge films by how real they are. But going into this one, I'm already sure that everything is going to be metaphorical. I think that's the word you used. But everything is going to be metaphorical, and I'm okay with trying to read into things, to interpret whatever they're saying, to even the picture, to interpret what I'm seeing, and to sort of read into the cinematography, read into the lighting, and things like that. So, yeah, I think for me, most of that was very well done. Yes.
So and the director it's Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler. Yeah. So Ryan Coogler, of course, famously directed Black Panther, and he also produced a very cool Black Power film called Judas. What was it? It was a film with Judas in the title, which I saw when it came out. I'm embarrassed that I've forgotten the name, but it's a very good film about Black Power, and starring Daniel Kaluuya. Our Ugandan Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh, I know the film. I know. Yeah.
Do you mean isn't that a Jordan Peele?
No. This Judas one is different. Oh man, you just Google it.
It's called something like
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yes, Judas and the Black Messiah. Yeah.
Which was a really interesting kind of political activist film with a serious message. And in a way, it's not surprising that Coogler is like, he's keeping politics in the focus for sinners. It's far more political than Black Panther, which was a Marvel/Disney film. But for me, unfortunately, I found the absolute opposite of you, Joanita, was that the first 45 minutes, the first half of the film for me were absolutely brilliant and completely drew me into this world of the Deep South, America. I'm a big blues music fan, and seeing that world brought to life, okay, it's very Hollywoody, the lighting's super nice, and the sets are a bit too clean, and the acting's a bit, as you said, quite theatrical. But nonetheless, like seeing the world of the Delta South on camera and, the great raw music and moments where he kind of explains how the blues came to be as protest song, as songs of suffering of former slaves. It's fantastic. I was really drawn into that world. And then I had the opposite reaction when all the vampire nonsense started. I was like, like I was watching a really cool film about a pair of gangsters setting up a jive joint. I thought there was going to be a lot more about them being city boys coming back to the South. And I felt, unfortunately for me, the horror side of it let it down. It wasn't scary enough for me. At no point did I go, oh my God, what's going to happen? I wasn't horrified or terrified. There was very little suspense for me, but the earlier part was absolutely brilliant, and I give him massive credit for like putting that on the big screen and showing the world, a version of what the South looked like, however Hollywoody it was.
Yeah. What are their two names? The twins.
Smokestack.
Smoke and Stack. Elijah
yes.
and
whatever.
Yeah.
So one of the scenes for me that stood out was was it Smoke? Was it Stack? So the ex, where he goes to the ex home, and they do. I remember when we were talking about One But After Another. You guys were saying how you liked the scene of where the
Sean Penn and Teyana's character.
Yes. That initial seduction scene. I think for me, the way they showed that scene in Sinners, it's not a seduction scene really. It's close to a sex scene. It's sort of
between who and who.
So this is either Stark and
the blue one.
Was it between the big lady?
Yeah, the big lady.
I was calling her Voodoo Mama.
Yes, okay. That's a good one. Yeah. So and so they're
very
using,
erotic that scene.
Yes. But they're using I don't know if normative is the word. The normative African beauty standard, right? So
yes, big
they're
woman.
not. Yes, they're not getting the Hollywood thin Beyonce
skinny,
very light skinned women. Yeah. And for me, I thought, okay, at least you've paid a little bit of attention to that. And, like I mentioned, I also like that opening scene, that sort of Nigerian-ish, the church thing. And then when you use, what, if you came to Africa, most people would consider to be the structure of a beautiful woman. I thought that was very nice, well done. And yeah, I mean, it went a little bit aggressive with the dick grabbing. That is the part I was like, okay, come on, let's not do that. But the rest of it I thought was, very erotic, very well done. And, it's very relatable. You'd imagine that this is real. It's not like watching a romance scene from a movie, right? So that is one of the scenes that I thought stood up before the vampire stuff. We'll talk about the vampire stuff.
He moves quite fast on her in that scene. It's no messing around. But it wasn't aggressive. It was really nice. It's a kind of, it reminds me of those films where someone's got out of prison and there's a bit of, chatting and then it's I've been missing another thing too.
I was so surprised by it. I think it's the first sex scene in the entire film.
Yes.
I was like, wait, what is happening? Like, I didn't, like, nothing before then showed us that maybe they were a couple or something. Like, it just kind of happened and you're like thrown into it and you're like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. This is nicely done, but I wasn't expecting that. Like, by the way, all the sex scenes in the film we were not expecting, even after that thing that we are going to talk about, the monologue, the music montage. Is it a montage? Yeah. All of that. The sex scenes in it are not some that we were expecting, but we're just thrown into. But yeah, they are really erotic scenes in this thing. They are.
What like I was interested, since we're on sex, what is it about, I'm sorry, I hope no children watching, but what is it about eating pussy in this film? It's a lot of discussion of eating pussy, and there's a scene, very explicit, of eating pussy. And I watched this film with my teenage son, and he's like 15, so I thought, it'll be okay. They can't, it's a vampire film. He's watching loads of gory stuff anyway. And my God. So I have to tell a tiny anecdote from my childhood. Did I tell you this about the kitchen roll?
No, you didn't.
So when I was growing up, watching TV with my mum, whenever there is an erotic scene on the TV, my mum used to say, David, will you go and get the kitchen roll? Meaning like the paper towels. And it became a code until we've been watching and she'd be there with her wine and she'd go, kitchen roll time. So that stayed with me. So I was there shouting at my son, kitchen roll time, and putting my hands in front of his eyes. You're right. It's a lot of sex in it. But what is it about eating pussy specifically, do you think? Why is Coogler...
Yeah, so for me, two things, right? Obviously, I think there is a strong sense of masculinity that comes with being able to please a woman, right? But also there is a strong sense of humility that comes with being able to eat pussy, So I think, that is the balance. The thing is, on TV, or on the screen, the way American Black people are portrayed is aggressive. And I think this is a very...
Dominating in bed.
Yes, the men especially, right?
Bedroom bully.
Even out of bed. So the masculinity, say in hip-hop and whatnot, it's... maybe now, we have like rappers wearing handbags and shit. But before, in my time, and I'm too old, I'm old enough to say in my time, right? So I grew up listening to 50 Cent and Jay-Z and whatnot, and your masculinity is a big part of your art, as a Black man, as a rapper. And I think even acting, it's sort of, I think for me, that is where he's going, to kind of challenge that a little bit, but without going too far, without becoming
effeminate.
Yes, without becoming a feminist, without sort of making it an activism-ish thing that's very visible in your face. And for me, that's what I read into it. I mean, they overdid it. They sort of like, as you said, they doubled down on it so many times, and they then showed.
I actually started writing down all how many times, and there's even a scene.
How many times does it happen?
I mean, I got two full conversations about eating pussy and another blowjob conversation when he's trying to hire the bouncer, and he says, your wife might even suck your thingy.
Yes.
And one of the pussy eating scenes is with a Chinese couple. and
yes.
it's mentioned there. You know, I can't quite remember the context, but anyway. But yeah, so in Coogler's world, it's good to eat pussy, and it shows that it's part of being a real man, maybe.
Yeah,
So guys,
I mean, that's how I read into it.
eat some pussy.
Okay, how it came off, especially during that musical montage, it's an animalistic thing to do. Eating pussy or having now I feel like we will be taken down because this now feels like we're talking about
We're
something
talking about
else.
cats.
Okay, I think I'm going to use other references. Eating the cucumber, and it's animalistic. So maybe that's what he's trying to convey here. Yes, it's the core of being a normal human who's willing to be nasty and dirty and filthy. To even the babe was
If you're
like,
filthy, I'm not eating the pussy.
The babe was
Gotta be clean.
Oh my gosh. The babe was like, I haven't yet showered. I think she said something like that. And the dude was like, Miles' character was like, no, it's okay. Like,
I want to taste you.
Yes. Now you see, going down to how animalistic it is, it's like you are stripped to the core. You're not pretentious. You are just going to get what you want. I think that's why it's essential to the film, because when they get into that zone, when the music hits them, the guy is just ready to devour what he has been looking at since the start of the day, because he saw that lady at the start of the day. I'm assuming it's all shot in one day and a night, yeah? So at the start of this day, he sees this lady, and at night, because of the music and the spirits that are within him, he just wants to... You know, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I read from it.
There's an animalistic sexuality going on. Yeah, but I mean, for me, those practices, you don't like it when we're being too direct, so I'll just refer to it. But sipping from the furry cup, for me, is not necessarily an animal thing. It's a sort of sophisticated form of sexuality, and I think like Coogler, in a way, is also telling us. I mean, that I think a bit like what you said, Ken, that, you know, you can be a gangster and a thug, but you can still make your woman very happy. And that's important. You know, it's part of your charm, right? It's part of your manly appeal.
Yes,
I'd agree with that. No?
Yeah, no, I think for me that's how I read into it, because that's the conversations, like, and this kid is making the first impression, right? So this is the first time he's trying to impress a woman. I think the woman is married even.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a little bit of that is I'm trying to prove myself, and that was like a shortcut given. Yeah. So I think.
I'm laughing because people are going to think that all we saw in the film was... Viewers, listeners, we did not only pick up on the sex scenes. The sex scenes were erotic, but that's not all we picked up.
I think it's quite telling that we jumped straight in there.
Like, oh my God.
But we can talk about the music then. What did you think about the music?
Oh, the music was really good.
Why did you link the sexual scenes to the music montage? You said it's about losing it, going into the zone.
Yes, because music back then, music for the African culture, Black American culture, was a way to evoke the spirits and be in one with the gods, sort of. So even with that music going on and on, you can see that people are soon losing. People start to lose their... I don't even know how to call it, but they lose their minds
inhibitions
in a way.
And,
Yes, and they're not limited by anything. Like, we are bonded by the music that's playing, and with that comes all the walls going down, and you become stripped of your walls and your anything that you're afraid of. So this is a way that the Black American people were bonding, and all that happened. Because most of they were attacked, but they didn't even know they were being attacked because they were the music. Yeah, it's not that you're high on drugs, but you're high on the music. The music is so good, you lose yourself in it.
Yeah,
that's what.
I mean, they were also high. There's a lot of drinking. There's a lot of smoking. Yeah, all the good things.
Yeah.
But Ken, you had something negative to say about the music.
Negative.
No, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
something critical. Yes.
Constructive criticism. Yeah.
So music is technically good, right? I'm not a professional music person, so just skip if this doesn't make sense. So music is technically good. The music in the movie is technically good. But for me, it feels like school music. It feels like land music, right? So if you want to portray music and its meaning to Africa, right? And again, I'm talking from Uganda, right? So this could mean differently from like Black Americans, right? But music, what gives music the spiritual essence, right? In Africa, is what you feel the first time you read, say, Immanuel Kant, right? Yes, you feel like you understand the universe. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. So that is for African music, at least, right? If you go to most of the ceremonies, most of the spiritual ceremonies in say Uganda, right? So you go to the ceremony, they have to beat the drums and they have to sing, right? So if you're paying attention to the lyrics, if the place is, usually there's a lot of smoke, so you're not fully in your senses. Some ceremonies require you to drink as well, or to maybe use some marijuana, and then they play the music, right? But the music, depending on what the ceremony is, it's to summon the gods. So we call them Lubales or Misambwa, whatever. But that is the goal, is to put in that state of mind where you kind of, if it's done well, you understand your history very well, right? So and most of it is most of the reason people do the spiritual practices, again, is to correct some issues or to maybe make money and stuff like that. And music is a big part of that because it puts you in that state, right? It's not for arguing. Music is not argumentative in any way, right? It's, again,
It's trance induced.
It's yes.
And so, but then you guys are both saying something completely different, because Joanita, you're saying you tapped into that. You felt like it was a trance. It was convincing. They were throwing off their inhibitions. They were going into a trance. So it worked for you, and it didn't work for you. But why didn't it work for you?
Yeah. No. I was getting to that, right? Yeah. So I think that the visuals tried to show this, right? But the music itself. So I'm totally convinced by the performances visually of people getting entranced, and how visually they try to bring in like people from the past and the future, which is what the music's supposed to do. But I'm not feeling it. You understand? So I'm seeing it, right? I'm seeing it, but I'm not. It's not deep enough for me to feel, right? Yes.
But come on, clarify, because
So I'm coming to that.
Okay.
That's what I want to clarify, right? This is how it would have worked, right? If because the problem is there are too many switches, right? So the music it's like a DJ thing, right? So they do switch from one sort of track to another, right? What I would have liked, right? They would have got either they would have like produced one entire thing. Say, okay, the problem is only propaganda stuff, so that's the one I'm going to use, right? They would have got like a tradition here, right? So say, what is a good tradition?
But you mean a Buganda traditional?
Yes, a Buganda tradition. It will make sense. Let me just think of one. So a big part of the Buganda tradition is there's a Mikolo for twins, right? So if they get a tradition like that, and make it the background of the whole thing, right? So while that scene is playing, they can try to mix in like the modern stuff and the like Asian stuff or the American stuff and whatnot, but you never get out of the music that is about one function. And this only function I know, but it could be like Amazonian, the shaman stuff. It could be anything, right? Because when you're listening to that, if you're listening to, even if it's in headsets, right? If you're listening to the drums and the, DJ Sunaben.
Was one rhythm.
Yes, exactly. The way he mixes his music, right? Where he can play so many songs, but
there's one rhythm underneath everything.
Yes. So if they had done that with the right rhythm, if they had done that if they had like a practice in mind, you get entranced with the music. And if you're seeing that as well, sort of is almost entirely hypnotic. You come out of that scene feeling like, oh, these guys are making me worship the devil, some shit like that, right? That is the sense you get out of like doing something like that. But for me, I feel like I'm too awake. Like the switches bring me back. I'm like, okay, what are we about? And I think they should have hired Kanye West. Kanye West could pull that off.
Interesting.
That is,
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. So you're saying, but would you accept though that what Coogler was trying to do was perhaps quite realistic in terms of like the actual type of blues they were playing was like the one that corresponds with that time?
Yes. Yeah. So technically, that's what I'm saying. I think they deserve all the awards they're going to get. It did appeal to me. I would have done
a really interesting point because, look, I mean, I absolutely get what you're saying, and I hadn't really thought of that before. But you're right, I did get pulled out at the moment by these sort of changes of song, and to make it more distracting for me, I knew a couple of the earlier songs really well. So the early song when they're all being called to the party is Wang Dang Doodle by Howling Wolf, one of my favorite all-time blues songs. And they're playing their own version of it, which I was like, this is so cool. But you're right that there was it kind of like, you put it as like a DJ approach to music. They're sort of switching from one to the other.
Yeah.
For me, but I will say on this argument, and I think two of you are taking very interesting different positions, I will come down, I'm afraid. I really like the music, and overall it worked for me. But you're right, it didn't work to put me in a trance.
For me, it's just that scene. Yeah. The rest of the music, again, I think it was well done. Yes, it's just that one scene, because I sort of know what he was trying to do, but I think it didn't, for me, it didn't.
Well, the thing that I've completely, for me, because you're talking about the bit where they switch from I wrote it down, but they basically switch from blues to rock and roll, to jazz to funk to rock and then to hip hop, and for me, what pulled me out of it was overall. I mean, God, and now I know exactly what you're talking about. I thought you were talking about the soundtrack overall. That particular montage didn't work for me at all. And what really failed for me, unfortunately, was the actors coming in like the different costumes. And I was no longer in the 1930s Deep South. Yeah, he's making a brilliant point that would work really well in theatre or something where you're not really there. But the production design's so good, and so many aspects of the film are kind of nearly realist, that then to suddenly have this fantastic time-traveling musical evolution story inserted in the middle pulled me out of the moment.
Yeah, I actually think
we're on the same page.
I actually think the intention was perfect.
Exactly,
because
good
that is,
idea.
I think, that is what African music is supposed to do to you. It's supposed to make you move in time, right? Yeah. But the execution is hard if you've never actually done it. So I think that is maybe where he misses. He has the intellectual understanding of music, but I don't know if he was...
Like, for example, why they could have done it slightly differently. Like, they could have said a hint of rock. So they could have had, is he called Sammie, the guitar player? They could have had Sammie doing a kind of Hendrix lick on the guitar. And then to hint at that, then they could have had someone come on and do a rap. You know what I mean? But to actually show it and change the costumes into the modern time. Yeah. So I'm with you. And Joanita, I hope we haven't ruined the moment.
No, you haven't, because if, let's say, this was a stage play, this would make sense. It would make absolute sense to have the costume changes and all of that, because the cameras kept spinning. That would make sense on stage. But if we're having a period piece, it's perfect if it stays a period piece. Like, don't take us out of that time. But I understand that he was trying to show the evolution of music over time, like how music goes through changes over time. But I think, yes, you're right, the costume changes were not necessary. They were not necessary. It pushed the envelope way too hard, and it needn't have been done like that for it to work out. Already we were enjoying, like, for people who got to that, because I think it happens at the 55th mark or the 1 hour mark of the film, if someone is already sold on the plot. Like Dev said, he was already sold on the movie. He was already sold in the 1932 setting. So now if you try to change him, you're bringing in way too much.
You know what I think might have happened? I think Coogler smoked a massive blunt and he then got really high, and then someone was like, no, we can't do that. It doesn't work, Ryan. And then he was like, you're fired, get out. And everyone was like, shit, he's really serious about this montage. We just got to do it, guys.
I think for me, actually, I wanted to talk about that so I can get it out of the way, and then I can talk about all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
So the vampire, the way we see the vampire, right? And at least, so the director hints to us that this is a vampire. So we know the vampire before the characters know the vampire, right? So
Can I just make a point though, segueing into the vampire, and following what you just said about it coming at that halfway point. I mean, now actually I didn't think of this before, but of course, what Coogler is doing, and credit to him, is setting up what I think is an underlying theme about white people spoiling black music, and it's very interesting that you have this evolution of black music history moment coming into the vampire. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. That I think when we see, wait, does he have a name? The original guy, the original vampire. So when we see him come to ask for help, he knocks the door, and then we see inside the house there's the mask, the KKK mask, and then so now we don't care. Or at least if you're black, right? You don't have any sympathy for these people, yeah? And there's a hint. So I think this is before you know that the film is a vampire movie. Of course, you've watched the trailer, so you know maybe it's a vampire film or what. But this is before you know that the film is actually going to be about vampires, right? But you've seen this guy is burning. So you're assuming the sun is burning him. So if it's a vampire film, this guy is definitely a vampire. And then you see the KKK people, and the vampire is asking to come in. And you're pleading, please let the guy in. Please let the guy in. Yeah, I think that I like that a lot because, so again, these are normal people until we see the mask. So we know, okay, this guy is telling us these aren't good people.
And it's interesting because it sets it up for later on where there's another build of sympathy for the head vampire.
Yeah,
so later on in the film, we kind of understand where he came from.
Yes. And why that was a perfect family to target as well.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
That was, I mean, for me, like when you talk about metaphors and how you comment on race and how you comment on politics, I thought this was done to my satisfaction, right? I thought, again, this is from the perspective of the black man, right? The black race is a very political thing. Being called black is... it's something that you're called to be segregated from someone else. And what he's trying to show that even among the white, we don't have like a plain white, right? We have so many levels of white. When he shows the vampire thing, and also the former girlfriend or whatever being the first one to be turned, the white friend. So, I think... I don't know how you can put that in an essay, right? How you can make that argument in an essay in a way that's convincing, but I think the film made it for me perfectly. They're bad, but, even among the bad, there's really bad, right? there's tolerable bad. And,
so all white people are bad, but there's some worse ones. Thanks. Where am I in this?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. One of the things I liked about one of my favorite writers, unfortunately, that never sort of survived the South Africa apartheid, is Steve Biko, right? And one of Biko's biggest critique, I think some people compare him a little bit to Malcolm X, but I think he was slightly deeper, right? So Biko's critique for the white liberal, unlike the actual racist whites in South Africa, was that they're working as a throttle, right? So this can explode. The racial tension in South Africa can explode. But the problem is we have these sympathizers who we don't know what to do for them, right? Because you have your white friends, and I think most people interpret him as someone who was encouraging hate. But what Biko was saying is this is a reality, right? You can't say black people are bad because you can't say white people are bad because you have the white liberals, right? You have those white people who are actually good, who sympathize with the cause as well. And if you've interacted with them, they're good people, right? So for him, his sort of way out was this black consciousness thing is just fuck the white people, right?
Charming.
Yeah, let's not try to be white people. Let's not try to get what they have. let us start our own thing, right? So that was Biko's direction, right? And the analysis he comes to that brings him to that decision is you can't just reduce badness to a race, right? You can't say the system is we can say the system fine, but you see there are people among the bad race that are actually trying to what? Fight for you. And those are the real problem, because those are making things a bit harder. They are adding grey to the black and white. You understand?
But is that making things harder or forcing one to qualify one's argument?
Yeah, in a sense, it's making things harder. If you're forcing me to qualify my argument, you're making But maybe then the argument's on shaky premises. If you have to say, these nice guys are actually bad, then no. So he's saying these bad guys are actually nice.
So, you mean the middle, but you mean the white liberals?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is how almost everyone interprets him, but I don't think that's what. Okay, like I've read some of his work, right? And I'm not a scholar.
But relating it to sinners, and
so this is the girl, right? That's the reason I bring him up, right? So the girl is not bad, right? The girl is not bad. The girl is white. We let her in. The party, we were not going to allow any white people, but we let her in. Because we know, we don't really like white people, but she's okay. Like this one is okay for sure.
Yeah. But then what happens?
Exactly. Yeah. So that is, I think for me, I was watching, I'm like, I saw this coming, but I like it.
What did you think, Janita? What about the racial politics?
Well, for me, I felt that at the core, the film, the vampires are used as a metaphor to show that white people and the systems that they take away from the black community. That, I think, is what they were trying to mirror. They were trying to show the excesses of slavery and economic exploitation, but using vampires and horror. That I think is what Ryan was trying to play at. Like this is different from Roots. If you've read Roots or watched the film and the series, Roots is right in your face. It's like 12 Years a Slave, right in your face. You're like going to feel sad. But here, Ryan knows that you've watched enough slave movies. You already know what's taking place here. Even when he takes you to the cotton fields, you know what's taking place there, but he's not going to go deep in it. But he's going to use the fact that the vampires are white. The vampires are white, and they've come for these black people at a club in quotes, the Juke, right? And usually those places were burnt down. They would always burn them. Sometimes they would burn them even with the black people inside. This was a thing that they would always do.
We forgot the guy who sold them the place.
Yes. They would always do that. Like they make sure the blacks are there, and then they would come at night and kill them. But he did not want you to look at it that way. So he said, let's use vampires. Let's make sure the vampires are white. They've come for these black people. But in a normal world, it is that the white people would come for the black people, set that place ablaze, lock the doors, and kill them. That is what would happen. But he did it in such a way that was so gentle that when you come out of that film, you do not have hatred. Yeah, you don't have that racial hatred. Like the same way we felt when we finished watching 12 Years a Slave or Roots. Like you leave those films and you look at the world in a different way, yeah? Like they make you feel...
You wouldn't make a podcast with me after watching it.
Like Escape. Remember the films like Escape from Sobiba? Like those films, you watch them and you just filled with a gap in your soul. You're like, oh God, they did this. But in this case, you're filled with, okay, that was a fun horror film.
And also, I guess there's something quite cathartic. You know what I mean by catharsis? Like where you use the word exorcism, but you get a bad feeling out of yourself. And there's something quite cathartic about the ending. I'm going to jump straight in. And
let me first actually say, let me comment something about the racial tension. The thing that I noticed a bit in film, and again, maybe I haven't watched enough films, but if you see how say Jewish filmmakers have made films about Holocaust, right? It's empowering, right? If you watch Tarantino's, I don't know if Tarantino is even Jewish, but if you watch
Inglourious Basterds,
right? Yeah.
Schindler's List.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Schindler's List is...
It's really good.
They're both good films. Anyway,
so let's talk about the Inglourious Basterds maybe, right? So you come away feeling the victimhood is over, right? It's our time to take the wheel. It's our, if we choose to forgive, we can forgive. We choose to revenge. We have the ball in our court, right? You mentioned 12 Years a Slave, for example. We still see the white guy coming to save in the end. I think Brad Pitt is playing the savior, right? We still see the white guy coming to save to help the slaves, right? And sort of you finish the film with hatred, right?
Yeah.
With hatred because it does not take the victimhood away. It sort of conquers you into that victimhood, right? And I think, what makes this film so good is that at no one point do you feel bad for the black people. Yeah, and again, the vampire metaphor rather than this is a entirely racial thing because, we see the actual racists and, one guy is shooting like a whole army of like racists, right? So the racists are portrayed as very weak, stupid people. And the issue is the race, which is metaphorized as, the system rather, which is metaphorized as vampires. And, the system is converting some blacks as well because the majority of the blacks convert and it's exploiting love. The wife is the one who invites them in, sort of like the way the metaphor is used there is multidimensional. It has nuance, right? That is what I really, really enjoyed about this. And you leave away black, you're like, okay, this guy is hurt us, but maybe it's time to fall my fist as well. That's what I loved about the film.
It's a really interesting point, and I'm glad you made that because I think you've hit on the nose why this film is important in a way, because it doesn't leave you with this feeling of, as you said, you're a victim and then you get sort of saved by the people who were terrorizing you or whatever. There's no suggestion of that. And in fact, you've made me rethink the very ending in an interesting way. So I didn't like the very ending where, he, as you say, he goes kind of Rambo on the white guys and like they're so incompetent they can't even hit him when he's running towards them. And I at the time, actually me and my son who's half black and sometimes gets quite racially conscious, we both were like, oh come on. But now it's interesting what you say because I felt okay about it when I was watching it even though I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
And
But I
really like your comparison with Inglourious Basterds because in both films, you have the kind of previous victim type taking the most bloody, brutal revenge with the gloves off. There's no kind of mitigation. There's no apology.
Yeah.
There's no. I like the fact that before he shoots the Klansman at the end, the Klansman says, "I'll give you money," and that triggers him, and he goes, like that really pisses him off. You think you can buy my hatred away? But I'm now going to jump in on a problem that I think is raised by this film, and I don't think it addresses it well for me. In fact, I think it addresses it very negatively for me, and that's the whole theme of segregation. So I was raised in the 80s and 90s, and in Britain at the time, the idea was we should overcome our differences. Well, there wasn't even like consciously. It wasn't like sort of people going, you must mingle. And we didn't have on TV, as we do now, lots of images of mixed race couples. We didn't have that in the UK. What we had a real community culture of reggae music and hip hop and ska, which was a particularly interesting British kind of development of Jamaica. So we had two waves of ska. One was from Jamaica and the second was from Britain. Ska music is like a mixture of, you'd say, sort of jazz and reggae. And it got adopted by white bands very successfully and then exported, and it went around the world. And there was a third wave in America. The reason I'm bringing up ska music is because it was a perfect example of black and white people unself-consciously mixing. And you got that in hip hop as well at certain points, although lots of black people might not accept that. But I think it was true, it was real, it was happening. You know, particularly in graffiti and breakdance, it was extremely mixed. So my point here is that I think you can mix culturally, but I think this film pushes back against that idea very strongly and says, you know, if you let the white guys in the dance hall, they'll vampirize your culture. And for me, that's like sort of historically wrong, and a kind of, okay, if I'm being like personal, I find it unpleasant. Like it's a bit like, oh, all right, I won't come to your party then, you know, and Coogler might say, we didn't want you at the party, you know. But I would say the reality is that black and white people are culturally interacting in really interesting and progressive ways. And I don't, you know, I found that really weird that like, and I think Coogler actually addresses the contradiction in his own argument by having the folk music that the vampire rednecks sing is incredibly beautiful. And then they do this spirited dance and they're like, wow, the devil does have good tunes after all. You know, it's not only us who have the good music, the whites also have good music. And so I think he does address that contradiction, but overall I was left with a kind of bitter taste in my mouth over that message. I was like, okay, but you know, and he's a very powerful man, Coogler. You know, he's extremely influential now, and I think for me that was a bit naughty to like send out that message. But if that's what he thinks, fair enough. I just think it's historically incorrect.
But at that time, that message was relevant. At that time, okay, back then,
I don't think it was.
No, if we had to think of slavery America back then.
1930s was post-slavery, segregation America,
yes,
yeah.
Okay, but it was relevant then because they were not mingling the way they should have. They were not mingling like that.
I don't know. I think it's more complicated.
In the 1930s, they were not mingling the way we are now,
yeah,
and the way we were in the 90s and in the 80s and the 70s. True. In the 30s, we were still, they were barely sitting in the same classrooms. They were barely sitting in the same buses and trains. So, of course, they would not share the same dance halls.
True.
Yeah, so I feel for the film, in its setting, yes, it is
Yeah, there was a good line, which is that the white man likes the music, likes our music, they just don't like the people who play it.
Yes.
And that
they said it at the train.
But can I just point out that what I regard as that, because I had the same thought, but my problem with that is that the film is about now as well, because and he makes that clear at points, because there's a lot about the evolution of music, and you know, for me, if it was a kind of rigidly period drama, yeah. But I feel like he's trying to make a point about now. I don't think he's making a point about the 30s. But maybe I'm wrong.
So I'm split-minded on this. I think in one sense, I totally agree, I think, with the observation. And I think it makes sense. Your argument, I think I agree with it. But on the other sense, I think you have to look at, like, if you're looking at this from a broader picture, and I don't want to be like several stats history lessons whenever I want to make a point, right?
Why not? We've got time.
But, Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, I don't know if you can even critique him. I think, like, he goes out to, this is sort of heresy, whatever the word is, but he goes out to conquer God, right? And there are two ways to destroy God, right? You can sort of make people forget that there was ever a God, or you can make God everything. You can. So there's before Islam, there is Judaism, who have their own God, and then there are other tribes who have like multiple other gods, right? And so we know that the God, whatever, right now we consider God of Judaism the one true God, but at that point, even in the Bible, he keeps talking about other gods, right? So his existence is important only if there are other gods, right? If there's only one God, then that's the same thing as having no God at all, right? You just sort of put the God idea at the back of your mind and you move on with your life, right? And I think that is what Muhammad tries to do, right? So Muhammad tries to unify the Arabian tribes, and it doesn't abandon the Judaic God as well. It doesn't try to create a new God. He claims to be the last prophet. And what I think it means here is, after me, you cannot claim that there is a God, right? Okay, that's how I understand it. And, again, Islam is a bit scary, to be honest. I hope I'm not offending anyone. But this is sort of like very intellectual, not like the spiritual Islam. Like intellectual, I understand it, right? And what this sets off, what the movement that Islam sets off is that unified mind, right? So the Arab stops becoming a thing, you become a Muslim, right? So they move to India, they come to the coasts of Africa, for example, and they import the Islam mind, right? So you have Muslims everywhere, right? And that means, the mind is the culture as well, right? But before that, what is happening in, say, if you look at the movement again from the central, is we start with these so-called demigods, right? The Bachuezi. We start with people who do magic, blah, 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 which is, I think, metaphor for evolution, right? Again, from how I understand what I've read, and I'm not a scholar by any short, right? So we have these pre-humans who become the humans that we know, but naturally, what happens is people segregate. Yeah, so the Bachuezi break into Banyoro, they break into Baganda, the Baganda break into Basoga, they break into Baruli, until actually the Muslim comes to deep into Africa to start the unification movement, right? To start unifying the mind into the Muslim mind. And then the Christian also comes to bring the second. So the Muslim meets the Christian, right? But even in Christianity, you see, the movement just like the Muhammad's movement, and then the Lutherans that try to split the Christian mind as well, and they're not able to create separate cultures out of Christianity, the way, Baganda different from like Muslims, right? The way rather Baganda different from Masoga, like entirely different cultures. But I think segregation, or me saying you and I, we don't agree, yeah? But you go do your thing, let me do my thing, right? I think that is natural, right? And I think it shouldn't be demonized, right? So that is what I'm saying, right? Unfortunately, it has some clear consequences, right? If your kid says, I like the other guy's thing better, I'm going to be like, no, you're my kid, we do our thing, right? Even if you and I, we agree that we are better apart, if our children fail to agree, then that is where segregation gets questioned, right? Like, does everyone in the tribe agree that we should separate, right? But I don't think it's unnatural. And I feel in the film, it's important. The segregation factor is important. We know these people are dangerous, right? So at least in the time in the film and the environment in the film, right? We know the white man is dangerous. I've been to Chicago. I've worked for the gangster of them all. Even the ones that let you in, even amongst themselves, because the guy was working for Al Capone. Yeah. So he knows like how like dangerous these guys are, right? And so he's like, these ones, you have to trade lightly. You have to know how you trade. And they're okay with uniting with the Chinese, for example. So it's really not a segregation entirely. It's mostly a fear of white people, right? So that is what I think the point was. And for me, from like how I understand at least, especially spiritual and cultural history, it is not abnormal. It's not an anomaly, right? Segregation is as natural as unification.
But for me, the film was about America as a more abstract concept.
Yes.
Yeah? It's not about America in the 30s alone. Yes, it's set in the 30s, but already he pulls us out of that with this time-traveling motifs. And then if you look also at the very end of the film, which brings us up to date. I don't know if you guys watched through the credits.
The post-credit scene.
Yeah, so they have 2 post-credit scenes. The final one is just musical.
You missed them. Are you serious?
I missed it the first time as well. I
What
only
did you
found it
guys-
after,
what
like when
did you
someone
guys
said,
say?
I caught it immediately.
fuck.
yeah,
Immediately.
it's actually really interesting and it bears on this argument. Haha, you haven't watched it, so
fuck.
you
Now I have
can't
no
argue. No, but Johnny can take your part if I'm saying something wrong. But so in the credit sequence, there's this bit where Stack comes back. So Stack is the guy who was like killed, at the end, he becomes a vampire. I believe that's right, isn't it? It's Stack,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, that makes sense
Yes.
actually because he wasn't killed on screen, right?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So he's there, and he's with, sorry, spoiler, but he's with the girl, with the white girl, his girlfriend, and they come back and they're wearing like 90s hip hop gear, and they're talking to
Miles.
Sammie, who's played by Buddy
Miles.
Guy. Is he played by Buddy
No,
Guy?
Miles Canton.
Is he the singer in real life?
At that time.
So basically, they come back and they talk to Sammie, the character, who is like the guitarist, who's now must be
In his
60s, 80s,
yes.
in his early 80s, and he's like got the scars from the vampire, and he's playing in a blues club in the early 90s, and they haven't aged, and they come up, and it's basically like the struggle continues, right? And there's lots going on in that short scene, but what I wanted to pick out here is, for me, this is not a film about the 30s. And look, yeah, I'm the white guy in the room in this podcast, but and I'm, you know, I'm annoyed that the argument is going this way around, because I wish one of you would say, yeah, I've got a problem with segregation, because for me, segregation doesn't work, whether it's like instigated by either side, you know, and that's maybe, and I'm not actually a universalist. What I love about your history lesson earlier was you were pointing out that there are two impulses in the world. And speaking in broad strokes, there are two kinds of social organizers. There's a universalist social organizer like Muhammad, blessed be upon him, who is trying to get us all into one mission and one understanding, was your point of mentality. And then you were saying that bumps against the borderlines of cultures who are trying to keep separate and trying to maintain some kind of distinct, authentic culture of their own. I love distinct, authentic cultures. And when I encounter them, I'm like, wow. And sometimes I try and knock and come in to enjoy myself with them. I don't want to get rid of I'm not a universalist that we should all be listening to the same music. We should all dress the same way. We should all worship one God. No, I don't think like that. But I find it annoying in a film that is celebrating music to say, this music is for this kind of person. And if the wrong kind of person tries to come in, they'll be excluded. Coogler's going, look, this is the Deep South in the 30s. Of course, they have a right to keep the white guys out. The white guys kept them out of everything else. So why shouldn't they keep them out? But as I say, because I feel the film isn't just about the 30s, I feel it's about now. I feel it's about what some people see as the corruption of black music. I think it's a negative and sort of historically inaccurate message. Interestingly, from my understanding of music, the blues emerged from a kind of international interaction between like jazz, classical music, spirituals, and lots of different types of music that weren't like strictly African. They were kind of from a variety of sources. And even the instrument itself, the guitar, is a European instrument. So the guitar they played, they didn't play the adungu or a kind of indigidi or an African instrument they were playing. So I'm going to finish here. I want to problematize that, and I wish one of you guys would like not just leave it to the white man to point out.
So this is a question I would have, right? And this has been overdone, so I don't know if it will actually make the same point, right? Because you made me think of recently there was the beef between Kendrick and Drake. And I think, actually, now that I think about it, maybe a little bit of it is what he's addressing, or maybe a little bit of it is actually relevant to the film, right? Because I think Kendrick Lamar's big argument is you're sort of like colonizing our thing, right? You're taking it over and you're sort of not paying the required respect, right? And his biggest problem is not that, the way you rap or your style or whatever. His biggest problem is you're now starting to pretend to be gangster, right? A lot of the deep, like black American music is about violence and the experience in the current violent America. And, he's not saying that we are not negating like your blackness per se, but don't talk about, don't rap like you're shooting people on the street, right? Because this shit is real, right? You can't just take the money out of it and leave the violence for us, right? And that is the argument he's making. And the argument from the other side is, in the end, art has to evolve, right? We cannot, what Drake is saying is, we understand, Kendrick, you yourself, you're not are going around shooting people, right? You're not, we know like maybe you're associated to some gangs and whatnot, but you're not going around shooting people either, right?
And you don't live in fear of your life.
Yes. And the point of making this music is if we actually don't if we don't use the art to grow your mind, to sort of see beyond the shooting, then you may get stuck in the shooting, right? But how do I get gangsters to wear handbags? Is I start by pretending to shoot, right? So that is sort of the argument Drake is making, right? That there is actually value to what I'm doing. I'm bringing the boys on. Sort of he's saying like that, I'm giving guys a platform, right? I'm making sure white people can pay attention to their music, right? I'm giving you your number one hits and stuff like that. So that is the argument he's making. So that is like people are going to ignore you if all you're doing is mesmerizing about how violent you are, right? But I understand your story because I'm one of you, and I want to make sure I interpret it right for this culture, right? So that is okay. Like,
no, it's an interesting point. I never thought of Drake as white, but actually, this for me leads into a really interesting side of this story in Sinners, which is about capitalism. I mean, Joanita, what did you? Because you said you picked up on something as well. Was it, or did you say that earlier?
Yeah, bits of it. The metaphor.
Yeah,
the metaphor to the film.
So if Drake is like representing a more mainstream
modern,
side,
yes.
Yeah, didn't you see that theme in Sinners as well as the sort of capitalism as this thing lurking in the background or something?
Yeah. So the fight between the brothers, between the twins.
Yeah.
It's one twin convincing him, I can't kill you, but you should join us, right? And this transition is one way. I can't come back. I'm gone. But this is good, right? So the second twin is Drake. This is actually good. I'm not coming back to the streets to get shot. That's obvious, right? But this shit is good. Like the vampire stuff, whatever you've had is wrong. We are feeling great, right? and this is, we talked about this already. I don't know if you guys have watched Pluribus.
No, I've heard about it.
I haven't yet gotten
It is so
to
good. So, but Pluribus makes the same argument, right? So this alien whatever comes and makes everyone some sort of vampire. People watch it. And then the whole argument in the film is this one character who doesn't convert is like, no, I don't want to convert. And the guys who have converted, so they've converted everyone into one efficient mind. So all humans are like one efficient mechanical mind. They don't need food. They eat each other, man, it's weird. But the whole point is they're arguing, this is actually what happiness feels like. We are all so happy because we are not controlled by our impulses. This one's like, no, kill me. Me, I want to be controlled by impulses, right? And
wait, controlled by what? Impulses.
Impulses, yes.
Right.
Yes. And you know, like, that is the dance in Pluribus. And I feel like the fight between the brothers is like, converting. There's nothing wrong with converting. It's scary, but until you convert, then you're one of us and it's not. And, you know, that is sort of the fight. And in the end, because he gets the chance to actually kill, the vampire gets the chance to convert him and it's like, no, if you don't choose to convert yourself, I can't kill you myself, right? So, that's how I understand it.
But, Joanita, did you pick up on any capitalist or anti-capitalist messaging in that?
Okay, what I saw is that when you have the money, every door opens for you. It's like the guy who sold them the juvie house, what later on becomes the club. He had the money, like Stark, was it Stark or Smoke? I confused the twins. Michael B. Jordan's character walks up to a white guy and what he has, what he gives him is money. Like, I can offer you this amount, give me this. Yeah. So there's exchange of something for money, and that happens even along the film. Like for the girl who has to wash the car for Michael B.
She's guarding his car.
Yes, she's guarding the car for money. Even all the people he picks up around to perform, they are all doing it for money.
And they bargain.
Yes.
There's I noted there were 4 extended bargaining exchanges early on in the film.
Yes.
So you said the white land seller at the beginning.
Yes. Then there was the girl who watches the car.
The Chinese shopkeeper when they're bargaining about the price of the liquor and everything.
Yes. Then also at
Delta
the
Slim
train. Yes. At the train. That character. Like, there is a lot of money exchange, but from the core message, it's that if you have money, doors will open for you. And that is still relevant even today.
Okay.
If you have the money, regardless of your skin color, doors will open for you because people don't refuse money in general. They
But
don't.
did you feel a positive or negative message towards capitalism?
Is it
Positive.
capitalism though? I feel like it's transactionalism, right? It's I can only do it for if you do something for me, and obviously money is the way they do it. But yeah, okay, no, go on. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, also, what I wanted to say in response to the whole segregation thing,
Okay.
that was back then. Right now, music unites us. Yes. And even I feel that it being 1932 is like too early. It should have been 1910 or 1989. But for 1932, it's a bit too soon for segregation to be portrayed like that. But I understand what you're
Was
feeling.
that the is it Jim Crow time?
Yes.
Because they talked about Jim Crow. a
But
couple of
remember,
times.
segregation
time.
went on for
years.
even after the 30s.
Yes.
I mean, it was up to the 60s.
Yes. Now I was responding to your feeling towards it and music. Music unifies us. Like it has done that for the longest of time. Music brings people together. That I think even to date is what we're trying to do with music. Like you listen to music and Dev is going to like it. I'm going to like it. If it's good music, it's going to unify people and it's going to convey a good message. Yeah. So I am on your side. You said no one was on your side. No one was speaking for you.
But you love the film. Everyone loves the film, and they're going to go away thinking, yeah, keep the white guy out. You know?
No. Okay. I feel that
if you bring the white guy in, make sure they don't go out to interact with the vampires.
and it's important
Oh,
to
wait,
say
when
that.
you bring them in, you got to keep them.
But
Nice.
the person behind the music of the film is Ludwig. I can't pronounce his second name, but he scored the film. He's behind the whole film music of the film, and he's a white guy.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's a white guy.
It's like Scandinavian.
That
Yes,
makes
yeah, I
yes.
saw that.
sense. I did not pay attention to
you
that,
didn't
but
know
it
that.
makes a
He's-
lot of sense.
Yes,
That
he's
is
the-
right. I didn't want to say it.
He actually
it's white people
he
music.
has won awards for that, and he's also the same guy who did the music scoring for Tenet, and also Black Panther, I think. Yeah. So he has worked with Coogler before. He's a good guy. He's not old. He's young. He's really
I
good.
think I'm vindicated now.
No?
I feel very good about myself. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Then we need to talk about the performances. Sorry.
Oh, no, I
yeah.
wanted to talk about the transaction part.
I wanted to conclude about the transaction
Yes.
part.
Yeah,
I know we're low on time, but
Yes.
But-
Can we go to the
Okay,
performances?
Can I just say, Mike, because I was building to something
Yes.
here.
Yes.
For me, whether we call it capitalist, whether we call it transactional, I think there's a message in there. So we have these 4 very extended bargaining scenes. It's unusual, right? So normally in a film, a character who wants a girl to watch his car, hey, watch my car, flips her a coin, right? What goes inside the shop. Here, he's like, hey, watch my car. And then they have it's about a minute long dialogue about how much he ought to be paying her and she underrates herself. Yeah, I'll accept a penny an hour or whatever it is. And he says, no, it should be more. You should be asking for more in life, right? And I think there's a really interesting message in there, which is like, for Black people in America, they need to be sharp. You've got to read the contract. You've got to know how much you're worth, which is a lot. And you need to be prepared to fight your corner in a cutthroat capitalist world where no one really cares about you, especially not the white man, okay? So for me, that's the message I got from those scenes. And then also amongst themselves, how much should we be taking from these plantation workers? And Stack, who's the more humanitarian thinker of the two, and he's the one who has the voodoo mama girlfriend and so on, right? He's much more like local. He's like, these guys have to drink. We have to have them in. They're our core audience and they're one of us, So we should be nice to them. And then Smoke's like, hell no. We're running a business. We're going to be closed in 2 months if we keep on doing this. And it's a really interesting exchange about how can you survive in America as a Black man in capitalist America? And I thought that was really, it was sort of unusual. At one point I was like, this is too much. But then it's clearly so important to Coogler in the film. So, sorry, you're right.
Yeah. No. I actually that got me to think now that what was the decision behind casting casting Michael B. Jordan twice, right? Was it to show that split mind, right? Because, and this is something I also face here a lot, like as a business person, right? Between doing interesting work, and charging right. Like there are some clients who maybe the work is too boring, or I know they have money, who I'd be like, no, fuck, those guys have to pay, right? They have to pay like the number we give them. And then they're like, there's a kid, maybe he's in VAC, he has made a song, he sent it to me, I listen to it. And I'm like, okay, let's pay and make for this kid a music video, right? Yeah. And, it's a split mind. It's not like I'm always going to be capitalist, or it's not like I'm always going to be like generous, but like I think that scene actually missed, like I didn't interpret it like that when I saw it, but I feel like that is, I think, what they're trying to say. And also the meaning of value, right? In India, for example, you're expected to bargain, or not in India, mostly like the Indian traders here and many Ugandan traders, right? If you come to buy a handbag in Kampala, on Kampala Road, the price that I tell you is different from the price that you should pay, right? And in Luganda, we even have a word for that. Ogiramula maker means what price do you have in your mind initially, so we can bring it down, right? Not your maker, which is how much does it actually cost, right? And maybe it's that argument that value is something we are going to have to agree on. There is no standard form of value. And that's a very good point. I actually like, this film was the best film. Now I see why. I don't see why it doesn't get the Oscar.
I think it ties in.
This show was so good. Yeah.
What you just said about the whole capitalism and black people having to get the most from the whites, because if you don't ask for it, they won't give it to you, ties into Ryan Coogler's negotiation with Warner Bros. For his film, which is actually very unusual. So he demanded that he receives a percentage of the box office revenue right from the first ticket they sell, not at the end of the theatrical run, like most films do. Like, he's like, from the moment it goes to the theater, for every ticket, I want a percentage. Yeah? So whether the film is profitable or not, I'm getting a percentage of the sales on top of my salary. And those, when now that they're not winning awards and stuff like that, people are saying that it's because the other producers and directors are mad at him. They're mad at him for daring to ask for such a thing that hasn't been done before by other directors. Not even Nolan had asked for such a thing. And so they are showing him, by not giving him the Best Director award, they're showing him that you already got the most out of this film. You've already achieved. We are not giving you anything. We're not giving you anything more than that. Like that's the word that's going around. That he will not win Best Director because of the backroom negotiations that he did. And Variety was extremely against it. They called the film a flop even before it ran for 2 weeks. Variety was against it. Like, so some directors and producers in Hollywood are mad at this film. They're mad at Ryan Coogler. But if even the message was embedded in the film, like you've said, that you need to ask for what you think you're worth, because they're not going to give it to you simply because you've made a good film. Now it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And he had to retain the creative control of the film. Like, no one was going to come in and tell him how they think it should be done. No studio executive was going to come in and tell him, this is how I think you should change that musical montage scene. No, he was like, I get the creative control. This is my budget. Take it or leave it. And there was a bidding war for this film, by the way. Jordan Peele wanted it as well. There was a bidding war, and Warner Bros. Won.
Oh, I wonder how the Jordan Peele one would have looked, now that I think about it. Wow.
Yeah.
There was a bidding war, but Ryan Coogler managed to secure Warner Bros. And this is why when we think that we're going to lose Warner Bros. And when it becomes Netflix, people are concerned that such films and such deals won't happen anymore, because Warner Bros. Takes chances on scripts and on directors' will.
Oh, do you know who wrote the film?
I have to check, but I think it's written by still Ryan Coogler.
Oh, okay. So
That's
he
what I
wrote it
think.
solely to
Yes.
them, and then he came and
Yes.
built. Okay, nice,
Yes.
nice,
I'm
interesting.
going to check.
Yeah, wow.
What do you not say, Dave?
I didn't
Because
write
I
down
have
the
to
writer.
check. I know that it was.
Yeah.
Let me do a slide check.
Can I just say something? I mean, look. I mean, I actually feel like what's missing from this film, for me, the reason I don't think this film, I'm afraid, deserves like 10 out of 10 is because the vampire theme is brilliant. Even if I disagree with the segregationist message, it's still a very powerful political film in a sense. It gave me something to think about, to argue with, even to get angry with. But it definitely was thought-provoking. And as we've discussed before, I find that a film that makes me think is very important because I can be entertained, but I also want to think. And this film did do that. But what really, I feel, let it down was that the vampire horror, if you want to call it horror, for me it wasn't horror because it wasn't scary, but the action scenes were so unsubtle. Now, the subtlety that we've been discussing, these messages about capitalism, these messages about racial difference and segregation and blah, 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 religion, my God, it's full of messaging. But then it just turns into bang, bang, bang. And like, for me, real vampirism is subtle. It's like a virus that creeps inside you, right? Mm. And there are brilliant, subtle vampire films out there that aren't full of gore and spraying blood and all of that. And what I would have loved is if the vampires had slowly worked their way into the dance hall and taken it over without you really realizing, not just surrounding it and running in with these fanged, but if they'd like seduced them and then before you know it, they're sucking your blood. For me, that would have made it just an incredible film. But he unfortunately went for the action-packed, maybe his Marvel background, maybe he wanted to make something comic book, cartoonish, because he thought that would be more broadly appealing. That's what lets it down. It loses all of its magic and subtlety when it turns into an action film. Sorry, but...
Yeah, now I can't get over the thought of the Jordan Peele scene as...
Yeah, I wish Peele had been producing.
Well, the creepiest film ever.
You asked about the writer. You asked about the writer. He wrote it. He produced it,
Coogler
and he directed it. Ryan Coogler. The performances were really good. Why Michael B. Jordan will not win Best Actor or Actor Performance is because the ensemble did such a great role that on his own, he did not carry the film. Like, this film would still happen without Michael B. Jordan. Like, take away Smoke and Stack, the film would still happen and it would be good. Like, you put Miles' character, the way it is, leave it the way it is. He's just a boy who meets some people going to a club. He goes with them, he plays his music, vampires come. It would still be a good film. It would still be a good film. It would, hear me out. Because, like I said, the 45 minutes of the film, which you guys like, but I didn't like that much, take them away, that whole negotiation. Like you said, you didn't even like the negotiation and why it was extended for like a minute or 5 minutes.
It was overdone.
Yes, yeah. It was overdone. Reduce that, like make it, thin it out to 25 minutes. Keep the plot, remove Michael B. Jordan, this would still be a good film on its own. That's how
as an action film.
Yes, as a horror film. That's how good the ensemble cast was. Like on their own, they did so well, even without Michael B. Jordan. And as such, he cannot get a Best Actor Performance lead role. Best Actor in a lead role. He can't get it because to get that, you have to be the entire film. Like, you are the one carrying the film. When we think of, Joel Edgerton's character in Train Dreams, take him out of the film, you have no film.
No, you can still look at the trees and stuff.
Yes, but you have no film. He's critical to the film.
I get
the
your
film.
point. I get your point.
So I think it was essential
so
for
that's
us.
A writing failure, basically.
Yes, not a writing failure, but I don't know if Ryan Coogler knew that by casting the people that he chose, because they are very good actors.
You feel he was outshone.
Like every time that Smoke or Stark meets,
Look at what you're saying. Look at what you're saying. Unfortunately, sorry, I'm interrupting, but very short point. Basically, you're saying I personally really like Michael B. Jordan as an actor. I don't think he was right for this part. Why? Because I think I wasn't convinced by him as a gangster. Yeah, he wasn't evil enough. Like, okay, evil may be the wrong word, but he wasn't tough enough. Like a real gangster, yeah, you get charming gangsters, of course you do, but he was a bit too charming and he was a bit too a man of the people or something. That I didn't believe that he could kill people. I didn't look at him and go, I'm scared of this guy. Like, think of the scariest gangsters in movies. You know, Al Pacino is a great, scary gangster. You really believe he can kill somebody. I didn't believe Michael B. Jordan.
But, you know, where is the inspiration? You know, do you get the inspiration of a gangster from other movie gangsters or from real life
from
gangsters?
real life.
Yes.
From real life, yeah.
Think of Ugandan gangsters. You know. Think
But
of
he
the
never. Yes,
scariest people in
I'm
Uganda.
thinking of the last person I met in Uganda who I know is capable of killing someone.
You're thinking
and they're much
thinly.
scarier.
No. Just think of Ugandan gangsters. Who's the first gangster that comes to your head?
yes,
It doesn't look like a killer.
Yeah, true. He's a cuddly teddy bear. Okay, good
So,
point. Okay,
anyway.
but leave that alone.
Yeah.
I didn't feel he was.
He wasn't scared,
Even
you know.
the guy you're talking about, he emanates power. For me, Michael B. Jordan didn't emanate power. I wasn't convinced.
So what about? Okay, I think I like the film so much. So again, I may be biased, but I think you make very valid point. But what about the fact that you can tell Stock and who? Sorry, I keep forgetting.
Smoke and Stack.
Yeah. What about the fact that you can tell them apart? Isn't that good performance?
no, that has been done before.
No. I'm saying even like from the performance, right? That they're twins, fine, and you can't look at them and tell them apart. But from their behavior, you can know who is who, right? Isn't?
I couldn't.
Okay,
I could
okay.
only
Yeah,
tell
I could.
apart the script, the lines. So yeah, Smoke was a bit more hard nosed, a bit more.
Yeah.
And
The
one
other
is
was
gentle.
like
And
sweet
Stack was
yes.
more a man of the people.
Yes. So for me, that's okay. I thought maybe like as an actor, and I see your point of, you know, the film, he's not carrying the entire film. Sort of the role itself, maybe the role is not nominatable, rather it's not winnable, but the performance itself, I feel like. Also, do you get nominated twice if you like pull it to win?
Very good.
No, so I think if we jump straight to ratings, I have said this film is a marketable film, but it was not a good film for me. It wasn't a good film. For 2025, I would not put it in my top 4. Reason being, like Dev said, the vampires, they come out, and then when they do, they also have a musical montage. Like, I have told people this is a musical, by the way.
I thought it was actually.
This is a musical. Yeah. It's not, they sold it as a film. Even when you're watching the trailer, you think it's a film. Yeah. Then when you sit down, you realize it's a musical. Yeah. It's a horror musical. And if you're not into that kind of genre, you're going to be like, I didn't sign up for this. Now, I wanted to see some real fights. I wanted to see even what you're calling action, to me, wasn't, because we've seen so many vampire films. I wanted it to get to that point. Then the vampires come and they're also performing. Like, come on. Like, honestly, it took an hour for the film to get here. An hour and 20 minutes for the film to get to the action, to the horror element. And we get there, and then there's also another musical number. And then the film is done. Because once that happens, the film, you only have a slight fight for like 10 minutes, and the film is done. And I feel like maybe there's going to be a sequel, and the sequel will have more fights and things like that and more structure. But this film, as a musical horror, yes, it gets the point. But as a film on its own, like a film, it's a 6 out of 10. For me, it's a 6 out of 10.
But still worth watching.
Worth watching once. I would not repeat it.
Man.
Even the erotic scene that Ken mentioned, the first erotic scene, doesn't make sense. I am serious. It doesn't make sense because you're like, okay, first of all, is he the aunt?
He's just popped into the shop to buy some milk.
Like, where is the sex coming from? Like, I was looking and I was like, There's been no preamble. Like, what? Okay, so you're fucking her.
He comes in to buy some milk,
like,
and then
is
he's like,
she
"Oh,
your
buy
aunt?
fancy a shag."
Is she like what is going on?
Actually, I think for me that's what works, right? If he had gone into a house with a typical Hollywood bimbo, all those questions would have been there, right?
And the saxophone starts.
No, if it's a bimbo,
all those questions. But because we are introduced to a full woman, a full African woman, the sex gets us off guard, but I think it's appropriate. Right? It's just that there's a picture of who you're supposed to have sex with in America, right? In American films, right? And if it was one of those, even the girl who ends up with the musician, the wife, yeah? If it was her, because she sort of fits the Beyonce kind of look, you'd be like, is this steamy? Is this going to go anywhere, right? But that is how women that age look. African women that age look. And African women that age. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The lady is beautiful.
Okay, yeah, but go on. Sorry.
The lady is beautiful. I'm not taking that away from her.
And she's sexy and she's ready
I'm just
for the
saying,
GDB. Yeah.
This is my point exactly. Throwing different scenes all over the place for 45 minutes. Like different things that don't make sense for 45 minutes. Okay. That don't make sense. And yet, yes, we're supposed to think of the metaphors. We're supposed to think deep. Why do I have to think deep? Why do I have to think deep for 45 minutes? That's my problem. Yeah. Like I said here, guys, I represent the audience. Like when I'm watching a film, entertainment comes first. Yes, at the core, I'm going to think of the production values, the cinematography, the metaphors. But why are you fucking this lady? Why are you fucking her? Like, do you know her? Do you have history? Is she your ex?
They talk and establish the relationship so clearly.
Talk, she prays for you. She prays for your what? I don't even know. She prays for you.
That scene of the like dick grabbing, she really tells him that. It shows that this is not the first time. This is not the first time we've done this.
You think he should have chatted her up a bit more?
No, I feel the way it happened just kind of...
that's good. For me, it worked.
The way it happened is why this film gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Like, because you're just throwing different things all over the place. Like, it felt like it came from nowhere. And that's most of the 45 minutes of the film. Like... so many things are all over the place and they don't make sense. They don't make sense. They don't have a backstory, at least with Hayley Steinfeld's character, the ex, yeah? When she runs into one of the twins, at least she's saying, well, you left me, you then fucked me so well, then you left me. At least she's trying to give a backstory as to why she knows this person. Why do they know? How does no? I'm saying the other one, the big mama, the voodoo mama.
They had a kid together who died.
So they have a kid.
It wasn't like the Telemundo-ish Hollywood
No, but
thing.
I think what Joe's saying is that it's like maybe the one thing I felt about it was I actually really liked that scene. It kind of made me. It reflected a reality to me, but. What I can see where you're coming from is that I think he's trying to shock a bit. I think it was a bit of an attempt to be like I'm just going to really sort of throw you off balance with this sudden sex scene that's how he's gone in to buy some milk off his ex-girlfriend and then they suddenly have a shag or whatever it is, right? But yeah, I'm obviously I'm oversimplifying, but that's kind of what I liked about the film. So I'm going to come in with my scoring now. I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. I think. And when you say you represent the audience, I hear what you're saying. There's a certain kind of audience who wants to get into the action quite quickly and they don't want this whole scene setting and preamble and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give the first half of the film a 9 because I loved the preamble. I loved the random sex scene. And by the way, we haven't mentioned the opening credits, which are this incredible sequence of sort of 1700s woodcuts, so sinister, showing you the background of slavery, and then it kind of the odd flash of a vampire image. And I thought, my God, this film's going to be terrifying and brilliant. I thought it's so good, that intro. The whole first half, I loved it, and I loved the music. And the second half of the film brings it so low, and I'm afraid it's a sort of sub-zero score of disappointment for the second half. And for me, I'm like, hats off to Coogler for portraying the Deep South in the 30s, but boo for making a cartoon film in the second half that just didn't emotionally have any impact on me whatsoever. I liked bits of the second half, like the Irish dance was really cool. Visual moments like that were excellent, but so much of the plot stopped making sense. Like, why do all the people who are in the dance hall leave when they know there are the vampires outside? Why do all the vampires at one point decide to run away for no apparent reason? There were loads of kind of like weird plot holes that just worked because he's like, we've got to get everyone out of the hall now. Why was it so unsubtle?
A minute, I've thought of a plot hole. Just to take you back, do you remember the first time we were introduced to a vampire during the day? Mm-hmm. He knocks on a lady's house, gets in, and then gets the husband. This was during the day.
Yeah.
The sun was out.
Yeah, but he's burnt. You can see he's burnt. He's probably
but
been running.
He wasn't disintegrated because they showed us at the end of the film that
the
when the sun
comes out.
As soon as the sun comes, they'll catch fire.
So what happens? Did you forget that you showed us in the film at this? Like, did you forget that he was out in the sun? Yes, catching a bit of fire, but did not disintegrate,
Catch fire,
did not
disintegrate,
die.
Yeah.
Like,
but
hole.
Anyway, overall, what I would say though, to give my mark, is I'm also going to go 6.5 because I think the film is definitely worth watching, but with a massive, a whole dollop of disappointment about the ending. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm happy here.
Okay. Yeah, personally, I think this is an American classic. I think this is one of those films you watch anytime from now, forever, and feel like you understand that moment. I feel like it was well portrayed. I feel it's timeless. And I forgive the mistakes.
Yeah. So it's a must-see.
How did you rate
I think,
them?
yes. I actually recommend this so well that I think I'll be happy when my kids are like of the age to watch movies and they watch this as the comment of that time, like as the comment of what that kind of time looked like, metaphorical as it was, right? I like it. I like the film. I don't know, like I'm trying to see. I was a bit hesitant, right? So to watch the film, maybe that's why. But it starts with that scene in church. That sort of the set design and the cinematography looks like like that ghetto Nigerian church, ghetto Ugandan church, why am I saying Nigerian church? But it would be a ghetto church in a Nigerian film, right? And then that first line, I forget what it is, but it's a very strong line. When you go with the devil, you may come back with it or something like that. I'm like, okay. Yeah, you lean back, right? This is serious. This is something serious. And for me, I think that is a good way to introduce a film. Again, on top of the starting credits and so on and so forth. So I'm like, yeah, this is good. Some of the things like the vampire being alive during day and whatnot, it took long to die even at the end, right? The sun comes out, it doesn't just explode. No, it doesn't.
He died immediately. For someone who walked and stood up to a house and knocked
either way,
in the sun.
The way they introduced the vampire, and they introduced the vampire, first of all, if it's a vampire film, you're supposed to hate the vampire, right? Yeah. But then they show us the KKK, and you're like, shit, is this one of those films where the vampire is the good guy, right? So I like that. I like that. So also the part of the Americans, the Native Americans, right? They come in to sort of be the wise people to be like, yo, we've been here for a while, we know this kind of problem. And this KKK, because again, they're racist, they're like, no. And you're like, yes and no. So I think for me, from like that point of metaphorical point, I think it took me so much out of the movie that I didn't pay attention to the like literal details. I think that's why maybe I missed some of the stuff. But I liked that I could tell the twins apart. Yeah. And I actually had to read halfway within the movie to know that it was the same guy playing them. Yeah. Like that is what I was like, oh fuck, but these guys look almost the same, right? And I'm like, shit, this is
Are you serious?
Wow.
That is how I like the performance, right? And they're coming from town, right? They're coming from town, like today, what I do, the other thing I do is programming, right? So I have a few friends coming from the US, from Silicon Valley to come and set up businesses here, right? And they come with those tricks, right? So these guys are obviously, they've been working as gangsters. So, part of that tricks again is going to be violence and how to interact with white people and stuff like that. And I understand that. Okay. I'll give it a 9. I think this is a great film.
A 10.
I feel this is
Give it a
It's not perfect.
yeah, it
It's
wasn't
9,
perfect, but I feel this was so good. I watched the film, I enjoyed it so much. I'm so sad that I missed the post credits.
You're going to watch it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm so sad that I didn't.
I think everyone should watch the credits. It really does add something to the film. It's good.
Because I think he's lining up probably a sequel. He is going to make it.
I don't know.
I think, and the sequel maybe, now I have my fingers crossed hoping that the sequel is going to have a lot more action this time round, that it's going to have more structure. I know.
I hope the other way.
Because now that it's in the 90s, let it have structure. Let it have structure because it didn't have structure.
I think even that action part, right? The part you don't like, that's usually where I think people start getting out of the film, right? So this is a theater film, but you remember I shared the link of R.I.P. where Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were talking about the film, and they were talking about what they learned making a film for Netflix. Is, they usually would do it the way they did Sinners, right? You set up the first act with a little more exposition, sort of like you're trying to establish everything. You set up the second act, that's when you put in a bit of investment to remind people that this is actually a big budget film. And then you set out the third act, that's why you spend all your money. Things explode, cars somersault and stuff like that. But they were like, when they went to Netflix, they were like, people who are watching Netflix because they're also taking care of their kids and they're doing dishes and so on and so forth. You have to explode something in the first 5 minutes, right? So people know, okay, this is a good film, that things are going to explode, and then you can start working around making the film work, And I think now that I have that context, I know why this, because it's a theater film, I know they don't expect you to move. You've already paid for the film. You're going to watch the action part. But in the middle way there is where people start to be like, man, what is this about? So the vampires come and they eat people, and I think it was okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm over-defending the film, but I thought, this is a black people film. This is good.
So we are hoping that you have watched Sinners, and we're hoping that you're going to review it in the comment section and tell us how you have rated it out of 10. Are you hoping that Michael B. Jordan gets the Oscar for Best Actor in a lead role? He would deserve it, but the films in 2025 were really tight. That's what I can say. Almost everyone put up a stellar performance. So for him to get it, he must have put on a better performance. But we are eager to hear from you. Let us know what you think in the comment section or wherever it is that you hear the podcast from. As always, it's been Heath the Joker,
Dave,
Kenneth,
and Ken on the Real Africa podcast.
Yeah,
thank you for watching.
Cheers.